My name is Gary Butterfield, he, him.
My name is Kay Ross, she, her.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireball's Dispatch, our monthly Q&A, sometimes topics, listener response, game announcement episode.
Yeah, we're doing all questions this time because we got a lot of them.
Yeah, and they pile up.
They do.
You know? And like Paul Simon said in Cars Are Cars, where he talked about how some houses are like cars and some cars are like houses. Some topics are like questions.
Yeah.
Some questions are like topics. Topics ending up in the overflow. Sometimes they don't actually take up a whole topic.
Exactly.
So sometimes it's easy just to kind of run through some questions.
Yeah.
And they're fun.
Exactly. The more questions, the better.
Let's get started here. This is from PPK420. Nice. Who says, you two have made it clear that you're not really dabbled much in the blood price that is competitive gaming, competitive online gaming. For the times where you have, I'd love to know, have you tasted the sweetest blood? My friends and I love to joke about the evil highs of online games, an opponent taunting you prematurely only to face your counterattack and scream in agony as you beat them, or facing an enemy using the most cynical strategy possible only to be defeated by your plucky, goofy-ass strat. I'd love to hear tales of the times that you two have played online and indulged in the darkest of joys. The blood price.
The blood price, the sweetest of the blood. Yeah. So like, I don't even know that I've done enough of this or been aware of what strategy I was using enough to like mark this. I'm positive there are times in like a Souls game where an invader has gotten way too cocky and I've like, I don't know, basically ring outed them or something, which has been good. But that's about it. That's for me, I think.
Yeah, I haven't done very much of this just because it's not my thing. And my examples are Soulsy. When we did the Dark Souls 1 season of Bonfireside Chat and we're fucking around with PvP for a while. When we did 2 shows, so we could like just spend a few weeks just doing PvP.
Yeah.
Off and on. That was fun. I did a real dickhead build. Like a Gravelord guy with a big cloud of toxic. The toxic cloud, and I used to do the poison cloud and then try to walk out through it around corners at people, which was kind of fun. I wasn't like good at it.
No,
I wasn't really showing them. I was just having fun, I guess. And then the only time I've ever had the sweet blood is when way back in the day, Dark Souls 1, there was a big thing with hacking. Where people were hacking their characters and they would curse you. You could get hit and get cursed, and it was like a permanent curse.
Yeah.
People had level drain because they had backported in that mechanic from Demon Souls, left it in the code. So I saw an invader. The invader hit an NPC or an enemy character and petrified them, cursed them, which is a red flag. And I jumped off a cliff so they couldn't get me. And that was basically, it wasn't like really showing them because you can force them to fall off cliffs and stuff. There's ways to dodge them and make them actually die, but I'm just not that good at it.
Yeah, no, denying them. I will definitely do the I will deny you the satisfaction thing.
Yeah.
If I think
I don't want to play this.
Yeah.
The only winning move is not to play.
Yeah. Harrison asks, what makes a good dog enemy and what are some of your favorites?
That's a good question because dog enemies are bad usually.
Dog enemies are normally just trash.
Yeah. Like really irritating, like consistently the most irritating enemy in a game. They're, you have Resident Evil where they're just like, you're fast or they're fast and you're slow. You have in Elden Ring and stuff where for some reason they have the same amount of hit points as like ogres and shit. Like they're really tough. That one dog in Elden Ring that hits on every frame, that causes it like bleeds you out instantly.
Yeah.
And stuff. This is cross-contamination, but a funny idea that Will had, me and Will came up with and everything to Guppy was a shooter for people, because people complain about killing dogs in games. And like, I get it, but also like, they're evil dogs.
Yeah.
You know? So we were talking about an FPS where all the enemies are dogs. And Will came up with the perfect name, which is Man's Best Enemy, which is perfect.
That is great.
Yeah, no notes. Good job, Will.
That is perfect. I like that a lot. Yeah. I don't know. Like an individual dog enemy is no good. I like when dog enemies in a game like use pack tactics, and so I guess by default I would have to say something like fucking stalker.
Yeah. Dog friends are good.
Dog friends are great.
Yeah, and like the dogs in Fallout are fine, like the jackals or the wild dogs, and stuff. Yeah, I don't know which one is my favorite though. In terms of what makes them good, I think that they should be as tough as a dog.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be super tough, and I like pack tactics as well. There needs to be something to differentiate them from like just a crawling goblin.
Yeah. When I say like pack tactics, I mean like attacking from multiple directions and like waiting back and like trying to tire you out by like taking turns coming from the different directions, like getting you to turn and focus and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
like a Clever Girl. Like the things raptors do. Like one of them backs off to stare at you while the other ones close in. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Ben says, "Hey, Gary and Kay, I've recently been listening to your content episodes for Bonfireside Chat and was really interested to hear you and Illusory Wall talk about real death in Demon Souls. Given the recent release of Night Rain, it got me thinking about whether they had considered an expedition type approach to Demon Souls and whether this was an itch that they had wanted to scratch for a while. It kind of makes sense with a central hub and campaigns that you can tackle in any order. I was wondering if you got this sense at all from the content. While I've enjoyed Night Rain more than I expected, it feels it could have been a real sliding doors moment. If this was something they had in mind from the start, I'm super happy that they landed where they did and hope that this is just a side hustle to give them time to cook. I love the network. You folk are the best." Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
You are the best.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't recall what Ben is talking about here with us chatting about real death and Demon Souls. Do you have an idea on that?
Nope. It's been years. The expedition bit makes more sense to me, because Demon Souls does kind of have that vibe to it.
Yeah.
Of you in the hub and choosing a place to go to from it.
Yeah.
I don't think that to me, I'd be surprised if this was something they had been working on that long.
Right.
Just because when they'd worked on Demon Souls, the gaming landscape was so different. Like this kind of thing was not in fashion and hadn't been done. Obviously it had been done. There were roguelikes, but had not been done in this kind of cross genre way.
Yeah. I can't see it. I can't see it either, unfortunately.
Yeah. And when we since this question was asked and now our Night Rain episode has come out.
It has
done, at least the first of who knows. We'll see if we do more. But yeah, one of the things I realized from that is like just the fighting in Elden Ring isn't what I'm there for.
That's just a mirror. See, also I was talking about the Chalice dungeons and
yes,
right? Yeah. Jonathan writes, as a longtime Hitman fan, it was a joy to listen to you two grow to love Agent 47 for the uncanny competence golem that he is. Seeing him since become a staple in your references has made me wonder, what are some other video game characters that are in your top tier pantheon of all-time faves? Do any other characters come to mind from games that you've covered for WoF that surprised you and became favorites? Much love, and hope that you have no problems with your toilet.
A world in which I have no problems with the toilet is a fucking your lips, God's ears, Jonathan. Can you imagine?
If God wills it. Absolutely.
Shall I see Valhalla?
Man, it's hard to think of somebody who has risen, who basically I went from basically no awareness of what his whole deal was up to this is the perfect video game character more than 47.
Really
yeah.
There are people who I liked before, because it's like Leon Kennedy. I've always loved Leon Kennedy.
Yeah.
I love JC Denton. JC Denton's ridiculous and great and perfect.
Yeah.
But they've always been that to me.
Yes.
It's rare that somebody and there are people who I've seen who I end up kind of liking, but they're not a perfect video game character to me. I like the Yakuza fella. I like Kiryu.
Yeah.
He's likable. he's a nice guy and everything, but he's no 47. He's not as funny.
Yeah, and you haven't spent like the time with him. Like you only played the one game. It's possible he could grow to that, especially as the world gets weirder, and he kind of stays the same. Yeah, right.
It's possible.
And then there are like characters that I didn't expect to like as much as I did. Like Kim Kitsuragi, right?
Yeah.
First hour or two of Disco Elysium, this guy's just kind of uptight. I'm trying to cover my ass around him because I don't want to be that much of a fuck up, right? He's just constantly disapproving. And then like it evolves.
Here's one. Johnny Silverhand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't expect anything, from that character, and I ended up really liking that character. I guess you can kind of say it with Geralt as well.
Yeah.
Just CD Projekt Red games, but Johnny Silverhand definitely comes off as somebody who I have no interest in for a long time, and ended up actually really liking the character.
It's a real fun impression to do.
Yeah.
Which is like a big part of the 47 appeal.
Yes. Yeah. And JC Denton and Leon. Like that's kind of the common thread.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew says, favorite Night Lord? Just kidding. No one actually has a favorite Night Lord. By default, I suppose my favorite is Gladius, since it's the only Night Lord I've ever faced. Would love to see the other 7, but so far I've only been able to defeat Night Lord 1, so I'm assuming I never will. Mods can help you. And the coolest Night Lord to me is the Sentient Pest, but it's purely for visuals and concept. I think moths are scary, and a moth riding a scorpion is really cute. That attack is bullshit. The arena-wide sleep thing is bullshit.
Yeah.
Even with the baby mode mod I'm using. But it's from a concept standpoint, I'm in love with that guy.
Yeah. I've only seen 2 of them. The obviously Gladius, and then the big chomper guy.
The big chomper guy is kind of uninspired to me.
Yeah, a little bit. So like
just a dragon with a sideways mouth. Like who gives a shit?
Yeah. So the Gladius right now, I guess, but only because I have not fought any of the others, even with the baby mod. But yeah, I see the potential for there being like a one that stands out. Like the pest seems neat. The one that talks to you seems neat.
Oh, that guy's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of these things I haven't fought tons of. I just kind of looked up stuff about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So pending answer so far. David asks, a good bleh to you fellow bloodsuckers. Just wanted to say how much I'm loving the Vampire the Masquerade season of Real Itch Hours. The White Wolf games have some of my favorite lore and storytelling, but I loathe their gameplay systems, so I'm usually stuck just reading about the world and not living in it. Do you both have a tabletop RPG system that you feel similarly about? Could also dip into video games as well, if needed to answer. Thanks.
The classic answer for this is Shadowrun, which has never had a good tabletop edition. It is, one of the best worlds ever created, and it's never fun at the table, really. Not saying, it's impossible to have fun. I've had fun doing it. If you've had fun doing it, I believe you.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think they're good systems. And they try a lot of new things.
Yeah.
Like I've tried every edition of Shadowrun except for first and third, tried or read, in most cases, both. And it doesn't quite work.
I will go out of the box because I also agree with Shadowrun, and say that I fucking love that, the Yellow King RPG. That whole set of books is amazing. I'm not entirely sold on Gumshoe as a system.
It's interesting. Yeah, same. I was reading that and I'm interested in it. It's made by Kenneth Haidt.
Yep.
Lovecraft scholar who I like. Lots of things to recommend it. As Gumshoe, and then Robin D. Laws, the guy who wrote that RPG, also lots of things to recommend. It's just, I don't know how it would work at the table. I haven't tried it.
Yeah.
So that's on me. But like the idea that you just find the things that you need, there's no contest, there's no chance involved in it. I don't know what the players do in Gumshoe.
Right.
It feels like just being told a story.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong about that. I need to give it a shot. But
yeah. And just that box set, I'm so happy I got it when it was easily available. Fucking amazing. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Like folds out into the DM screen thing, the box. Like it's really nice. It's a great little product. I did the full Kickstarter for that, and I have like a novel set in that world, which I haven't read, but also is a very funny like Kickstarter accessory thing.
I also have that novel, and the only reason I haven't read it is because of the name Absinthe and Carcosa.
Yeah, give me no.
No, sorry, bud.
Yeah, no, just stop saying absinthe. Like absinthe is fine. Like I've had it before. Like if you like licorice, but it's just the connotations.
Yeah.
Are intolerable.
Like a very specific, like, I think that, like, you know, when Ray in Akewood needs to pretend to be a goth, like he calls himself Lord Absinthe.
Yes.
Like, there was a time when it was banned in America and only a particular kind of person like got a hold of it and like raved about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out it just tastes like a licorice sailboat in Holland. Like,
yep.
You know, it's Sean asks, hi, a while back, I remember that you folk had planned on doing a WoF episode on Fear and Hunger, but has swapped out to something else. I became aware of that game recently through YouTube essays, and although I love many things about its atmosphere and art, I think it may be too cruel towards the player for me to really enjoy. I understand it uses literal coin flips to determine certain instant death attacks and whether saving is successful, which is something I truly have no time for. I'm sure you addressed your reasons at the time, but the game wasn't on my radar, so it didn't stick with me. So I was just curious as to what happened. Was this technical? Did it not pass the sniff test, morally speaking? Or is the game just too cruel? Do either of you have any experience with it, and what do you think? As for myself, I may try a mod that improves the save system to make it more tolerable, but it's likely that I'll just have to accept that this one ain't for me. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I mean, moral is probably like a wrong way to approach it. I got a huge case of the yuck when one of the first things that can happen with one of the first enemies who can attack you is they sexually assault you anally. You get a status effect that causes you to bleed from your anus. That is some like fatal shit. You know, the tabletop RPG. And like, as a first impression, I was like, this just does not give me hope. Even with like the people who are raving about it, it is difficult for me to look past that. And I will be a huge like bore about it. So I just didn't want to play it and talk about it.
Yeah, that's the big thing about it. And for me, it's like the talk about it part. Like I can read stuff and have media that has that in it. No problem. Yeah. Talking about it feels different to me, especially on our show where like my instinct is to make jokes, you know, and it's nothing to joke about that, but the game isn't necessarily taking it super seriously. It kind of put me in a weird position to, you know, in terms of like meta commentary. I felt like.
It just like it the idea of like firing up RPG Maker and making anal bleeding into a status effect is just real tasteless to me. Call me
it's weird because there's so many other things that are neat.
Oh God, yeah.
About it. Like a big shout out to Worm Girl on YouTube, who does lore videos about that series, which is how I've experienced it. Generally, is just kind of learning about it and kind of getting the neat things without having to play it.
Yeah.
And some of the like the coin flip stuff, I kind of respect.
Yeah.
In a way, at the same time, is also hard to do with the show.
Yes.
You know, even when we give ourselves plenty of time, there's a powerful demoralizing effect to things that feel outright unfair.
Yeah.
Like that, even if they're part of the experience, it can just feel bad. Like I can have all the time in the world, be sitting down to play something for work, and then just like lose a bunch of progress to a coin flip, and it just hits really hard.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of feels like the kind of game that I would enjoy more if I wasn't playing other games at the same time. Like I poked at it in the background for a year.
Yeah.
You know, not something I sat down to play for a week before recording about it.
To your last point, like, hey, this may just be one that you need to mod. I am not seeing a Fear and Hunger mod on Access or whatever. That doesn't mean one isn't out there. It's your game. It's on PC. Play it the way that you want to.
Yeah, do it however you like. And if you don't want to actually play it, check out Worm Girl's stuff on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay for something not to be for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, having things not be for you shows that you know yourself and you value your time. You know, acting like everything in the world is for you. Spoiler, there's not enough time for that. You won't get to everything. So having some kind of metric to choose what is for you is greatly to your advantage.
Audie writes, "Hiya, Gary and Kay. I wasn't around for the era of 90s shooters, being born around the turn of the millennium, and most of first-person shooters I was exposed to growing up, I either wasn't any good at or didn't like. So for the longest time, I assumed the genre just wasn't for me, outside of sims like Deus Ex or Dishonored. But last year, I picked up the new Doom and Doom 2 release on a whim, and ended up really loving them, even though I'm still very bad at them. Since then, I've started getting into boomer shooters and Doom clones, having played Duke 3D, Blood, and Shadow Warrior, of which Blood is my favorite. My questions are, do either of you have any particular favorite niche or less popular shooters from this era, or ones calling back to this era? Is there anything you miss from that era of shooters that still hasn't come back into fashion? Last and least, how interested are you in covering more of these games on the show? I'd love an episode on Blood or Duke 3D.
Thanks, Audie.
Yeah.
I'm a big Blood fan and a big Duke 3D fan. I like both those games. Like Duke Nukem is a joke, and I feel like Duke Nukem Forever made his jokeness grosser. But in the original Duke 3D, it's kind of hard to, like the joke seems like it's on the character. It's hard to feel offended by that game, you know? And it was one of the first games I played that was interested in modeling spaces at all. Like the first levels being downtown with a movie theater you can go into and then smash the screen and go behind it and stuff. All that shit, like, put it in my veins. Yeah. It's very, very good. So I like all that stuff. We just have to space them out, you know, because they don't play that differently usually. You know, so I think on a long enough timeline, I could see us doing one or both of those, but no current plans. I'd say Shadow Warrior is a little bit trickier because Shadow Warrior is straight up racist. You know, just again, see the last question, like nothing, not condemning you for playing it. It's just harder to talk about.
As for like games like roughly from the era, like I just didn't really play an awful lot of them. So my like knowledge of them is pretty surface level, you know?
I didn't play a lot of the obscure ones or anything. The only thing I could really point out that is not on everyone's radar is the Half-Life mod, They Hunger, which is a zombie, like a Romero zombie trilogy made from the ground up in Source Engine. That's really good. And it's somewhere between a mod and a real product. It was the person who made it was paid. It was released with PC Gamer, I want to say. They used to do that. Fucking crazy. You think about that. Like, here's a disc version of a mod for Half-Life that you got with this magazine. That's really good. And then in terms of throwbacks, we both really like Slayer, Slayer X, you know, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. And I love Dusk.
Dusk is really
probably
good.
still my favorite of the throwback ones.
Same. And those are ones we covered. We have episodes about them. So go play those and then listen to those episodes.
Check them out. Shall we move on to lifestyle? Questions? Brad says, hey folks, I recently took the plunge and built my very first gaming PC rig. Aside from wrestling with Windows 11 updates, I'm having a blast. Playing along with the new season of Real Lich Hours has been a joy. My question, what are your current PC builds and how often do you upgrade parts, CPU, GPU, etc.? Have you ever wanted to cover a PC game only to have compatibility issues with your builds? Thank you for the consistent, amazing output of your shows. It's gotten me through some tough times. You're welcome, Brad. Thanks.
Love hearing that.
Sweet. Thank you.
So to the last question, like, has wanting to cover a PC game only to have compatibility issues, like very famously that has happened with Project Snowblind. We tried to cover that twice and it didn't work. It happens with
the old games though. Like, it's not like we haven't upgraded enough. It's like we've upgraded too much.
That's the way. I don't know, maybe due to the answer to the first questions there, like I tend to upgrade every like 5 years or so. And so like I did my last big upgrade, like a year and a half ago, something like that. So like, and I went crazy building it. So there's like a 4090 in there. I don't know. I can't remember the specs on anything else. But yeah, that is as far as I know.
I am functionally illiterate when it comes to anything which name is just letters and numbers. Be it music gear or computer gear or anything. Like when something is a 4070 or a GX 222 or something like that, I don't like it. I can't read it. But I'm very lucky because I am lucky enough to have met and become very good friends with Nick Glauber, who I just outsource this to. So I tell Nick every roughly 5 years or whatever. I say, Nick, I'd like a new computer, and Nick tells me what to buy. and then I buy him lunch and he builds it for me and it works.
Yeah.
And it's great. The current computer is really nice. It runs everything great.
Yeah.
Should be good for a while. But I can't tell you the gear that's in it because I don't have a gear brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cube shaped. It has a glass top.
Nice.
You can see inside it. It has glowing lights inside it. It's very pretty. That's about what I got.
Yeah. This was the first time when I was not able to avoid getting a case that had RGB stuff in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So,
I mean, oh, bad.
oh, bad. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
So like,
oh, bad.
I try to minimize that effect as much as possible, but
Yeah.
oh well.
This case, the one I've got now that does have lights inside it, at the very least is pleasingly cube shaped. It doesn't look like a Transformer's chest.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, gamer cases a lot of times look like something that you would store the spark, or the auto spark or whatever it's called from Transformers in.
Yeah.
Do you remember the time when like boomboxes, like full stereo systems always looked like a Transformer's torso?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I had
while?
a couple of those. I think I got one of those from my brother.
Yeah. It's real silly. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is still, it's just a rectangle. It's just not there's no like contouring on it or anything, which is nice.
Standard case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss when PCs look dorky.
Yeah. Same. Angel or Angel says, first, I want to thank you all for your content. I'm a new parent and spent many 3 a.m. mornings listening to your podcast while putting my baby to sleep. I also use your podcast as a sleep aid when my mind is a little bit too busy. What routines do you do when you're getting ready for bed? Do you associate any podcasters with sleepy time?
Brutal. we aim to be scintillating and funny, and yet you go to sleep to us?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That is one of those funny compliments that is actually a compliment, and I can take it, but also it kind of does feel like a bird.
It's just one of those things where I can't listen to words while falling asleep. Other people can do it just fine.
Yeah.
Like my wife will fall asleep watching YouTube or something, but if something has text, even lyrics, like I can't.
Yeah.
My brain activates and hones in on them. I can't go to sleep to it.
Yeah, I fall asleep listening to, or like with a show on that I've seen a whole bunch. So, Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill, something like that. No podcasts.
What happens if there's a joke you don't know that you missed the first 400 times you saw it?
Gary, it's never happened.
I know, but you got to stay awake in case it does.
No, I don't.
I could never. I can't fall asleep to TV. Could never.
It's always been the case. Like, I think it's because my grandma used to sleep with her TV on, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm the outlier there. Most people can sleep to a show or YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
My bedtime routine, I tend to take some kind of sleep aid because I am not good at sleeping. And I lay down. I will sometimes play a single game of a Switch game, so like a Monster Hunter or Monster Train 2 run is what I've been doing. Even though I've already completed that, I'm just learning about it. Exploring the mechanics, and then I will read something kind of boring until I am tired. Sometimes a physical book when I'm being good, sometimes just my iPad, a lot of old comics, that I have nostalgia for, but aren't good. So 90s Scott Lobdell X-Men bullshit that I see the cover and get kind of excited and start reading it and then I drift off because it's not very good. Close it and go to sleep.
Yeah. I really don't have a routine. It's different every night. So, yeah,
sleep roulette.
Yep. It's a real mess.
Yeah, that's what the experts say is that you should really keep your body guessing.
Yep.
Sleep can come at any time, and you want your body to be expecting it.
Sleep evades me so much that I need to get like a jump on it. Yeah, never know which direction I'm coming from.
Yeah, you had to win.
Yep.
You had to defeat sleep.
What's Paul say?
Paul says, there's been a lot of talk about gaming as you get older and the ways it changes your gaming appetite. Personally, I'm only interested in crunchier games like Darkest Dungeon 2 or Caves of Quud lately. Caves of Quud. Is it Cud or Quud? Cud is the thing cows chew.
Yeah. I've never heard it said out loud.
Me either.
I say Caves of Cood, but yeah.
Cood. Cood. Gary, what's happening to me? You're coming online.
Yeah.
When you're young, the idea of just a story, is super appealing to you. Like, oh, what's going to happen to Link in the Ocarina of Time? And then you see a bunch of stories and you realize what's going to happen. So you want to play and figure stuff out yourself. You've gained a lot of literacy. It's not that there aren't good story games. There are tons of good story games out there. Most of them aren't.
Yeah.
And, mechanics, you can fuck around and discover. It's a different thing than a story, like being told a story, like you're learning. Like last night, I've been playing Monster Train 2. Monster Train 2 will show up on the show. Don't you worry, everyone. And there are like interactions in that I had no fucking clue. There's like a clan of mad scientists in that have a ability to reanimate. And the number of things that works with that you would not think it works with is nuts.
Yeah.
And that feeling of like delight of figuring out a mechanical corner case and then thinking about how to exploit it is a totally different enjoyment carb than getting the next beat of a story. So like, it's a different thing that you've developed a taste for.
Yeah.
It's sick. Ride it.
Not to like generalize that everybody like there's some kind of like carcinization where eventually everybody evolves into a Gary. I would say that if you spent a whole bunch of time playing one kind of game as you're getting older and you want to find new stuff, this is like the direction that you're growing in, more so than anything. Right. So I think that is probably a little bit more applicable, but I understand what you're saying with yours.
I was kidding a little bit as well. Like, I don't think that actually somebody has evolved in anything. I wonder if it's a thing where if you, as a child or when you're younger, you were really into systems-based games, if you go the other way, and it's kind of hard to think about that because systems-based games typically aren't pitched at children. Like there is kind of an age correlation. Even real systems-based games that are out at the time were more on like PC and for dads and uncles.
Yeah.
At the time.
Usually about the Civil War. Yeah.
A lot of times. About that. Or like flight sims, Wasteland. Like things like that. They were extant, but they weren't really for kids. Like it is kind of a natural thing, even though there are tons of exceptions and there's no virtue in either half of it. I was joking about that bit.
Yeah. So a couple different ideas of what could possibly be going on, or something could be really wrong with you.
That is true. It's either that or you need to go to the doctor now.
Yeah. It's already too late.
Yeah. You've got caves of cooties.
Oh, that was good. I think you did good work there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Noah says, "Hi, friends. If you were to write a fun novel, what do you think it would be about? Would it be fantasy, sci-fi, slice of life, horror?"
It'd be slice of life for sure.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a subgenre of horror.
It is, yes. What do you think would appeal to you creatively? Keep up the great work and congrats to Kay. Oh, thank you.
No. I thought about writing a horror book or a section of short stories. Now I've written a couple of books. They're jokey. But if I was going to write something now, I would try to do horror. The trick would be my horror chops are not long-term. So like a collection of short stories, I think is within my purview. If I had the time and inspiration, I'd like to do that. An actual like long-running horror thing would be hard for me.
Yes.
I just don't know I can't sustain that for that long. I get too bored and want to move on to a new idea.
Yeah.
I feel like
mine would be horror too. It would, and that's just because that's the kind of stuff that I like to read, So yeah, I would want something with some teeth like that. Have a couple of different ideas, but nothing that I feel has potential. Nothing that's like so exciting that I need to like start breaking out an outline or something like that.
Yeah. Slice of lice.
Slice of lice.
Pretty good.
There you go. Happy accidents.
Yeah. What if a lice got sliced?
It'd be really hard
lice
to
don't
do.
Get sliced.
No.
This one does. Moving on to media questions. Kezia says, howdy, G and K. Recently, I've been watching the gaming YouTuber Any Austin a lot. He has a very unique take on making videos about games, video topics ranging from tracking Red Dead Redemption 2's birds and studying their behavior to making an entire functional map of Starfield's pipe networks. If he ever pops up or you're curious, I highly recommend. Because of Austin's videos, I find myself following rivers to find their source out of curiosity. And because of WAF, I've been analyzing patterns and mechanics a little bit more as well. Because of how you all have shaped how I view and interpret the art form, I wanted to ask, has there been any non-critic that has shaped the way you interact with games? For example, knowing my 7th grade math teacher was a huge League of Legends player shook my worldview.
That's a fun puzzle to try and figure out how old your teacher was and how old you are on that.
Yeah. How much younger than me are you?
Yeah, I need to know. I need to know.
Considerably.
I need to know. A non-critic who shaped how I view or interpret the art form. That's hard.
Yeah. There's like cross medium things. Like there are basic storytelling things that I've taken from other thinkers that I apply to how I analyze any story. And it applies to games as well. Like, and it's all, super old school and canon stuff. So it's embarrassing now. Like people don't like this kind of thing, but like, I think about, a very influential thing to me when I was young was renting from their school library the talk Kurt Vonnegut gave at the Iowa Writers Workshop. He used to teach there, and there was like a half-hour long VHS tape that I watched a bunch of times about that, and it just got a lot of basic like story stuff that I have internalized really deeply. Like, like a character needs to want something. And that's been really useful when I'm like, this feels unmotivated. Why does this feel so bad? And then thinking, the character doesn't want anything. Yeah. Like there's no reason for me to be here. I'm not motivated. The character's not motivated. This feels arbitrary. That has a knock-on effect. It makes the world feel worse. Your character's not acting like a person. It takes me out. And that applies to games. Yeah. Like that happens all the time in video games. Think about, I wonder what's happening in Narsh.
Yeah.
Like that's cute. And that, I love Final Fantasy VI. That's not a damning thing, but it is silly. It doesn't feel real. Yeah. Let's try. It'd be like you and I saying, I wonder what's happening in Calcutta. Yeah. And then like traveling there. It's on the other side of the fucking world.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like it's ludicrous. It's undermotivated. The characters don't want, like the thing they want, they're not focused on. Or Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, Fallout 4, how ludicrous it is that you're set out to save your kid and you immediately do everything for everyone else in the wasteland, including rescuing somebody else's kid. Like that, your character's not acting like they want what they want. Like that feels like a very basic storytelling structure that's important. Thing. So that's something I kind of take from non-game bits, but it's still critical thinking. It's still analysis stuff.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, like where the line is between like, a non-critic or, who's a non-critic, who's a critic, and then who is just a creator who knows their stuff really well and knows how to communicate about it. Because like the first Stephen King book I ever read was on writing, right?
That's like, weird.
I know. Right?
Why'd you do that?
It was for a class.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. And I was like, a lot of this stuff makes sense. And like a lot of values that I pulled from that, just like, the value of plot is overrated, right? Like a lot of things that people call plot are actually not entirely like necessary, or they're misattributing things, back to like characters are supposed to want things, right? Like the story should not be something that is, strictly dictated by a line, ahead of time, an outline ahead of time, but like instead is kind of discovered along the way by, establishing the characters and the dynamics and stuff like that. Right. Yeah. And you can just really tell when something is, solved backward for, right. Yeah. So like that is something, and I apply that to games as well, because that so often runs into pacing shit as well, right? So like, does that count for this question? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah. Like both of those seem like critical works to me, but it's probably the closest answer I have. Yeah. Yeah. Solving backwards happens all the time in games, like when things happen because they have to happen then. Yeah. Like it's time for this. Yep. It sucks. It's not damning. Like you still have good games where that kind of thing happens. It's a different medium, but I do notice it every time.
Yes. Sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. I'll never fucking forget it. Narsh.
Oh, man. Michael writes, what are your thoughts on having favorites? When I was younger, I always had a favorite of something and was really devoted to them, to the point where it took me a while to admit my favorite candy had switched from M&M's to the obviously superior Reese's. Now I'm ambivalent about favorites and more generally just have books, games, etc. That I like more than others or would recommend recommend to people. I find this weirds some people out, especially when they find out that I'm a writer or ask my favorite book, and I say that I don't really have one. There are so many good books that do different things. Curious if you're people who have favorites and stick to them, or have a pantheon, and whether your relationship to this aspect of liking things has changed over the years.
I think that's pretty natural.
Yeah.
Like, I think that most people go through that. Like, I definitely went through that. I think that most people I know now, people my age, like, it's very rare that one of them has a favorite. Mm-hmm. In like, if you, somebody like, who's your favorite band? Like, they might have an answer, but it probably depends on the day.
Yeah.
They have a lot of bands they like. They have a lot of authors they like. They have a lot of TV shows they like.
Yeah.
And I can't think of very many categories in which I have a real favorite. Mm-hmm. Like that I would choose every time at the exclusion of others.
Yeah. Yeah, and it leads to awkward situations where you're just having a surface level conversation with maybe somebody in the service industry, like, oh, you like video games. Oh, what's your favorite? And you either have to just hit them with something disingenuous and just say, oh, Dark Souls. Okay. Yeah. Or you're the asshole who says, oh, you don't know how hard that question is.
It's a real aunt question.
Yeah.
It's like a question your aunt asks you. Like, they know they want to connect with you. They know you're into a thing. They just want to get you talking about it. It comes from a good place. Mm-hmm. There's no real good way to answer it.
Yeah.
And there's no good, and you're being an asshole if you're just like, oh, it's a complicated question, but a lot of times it's honest. Like, I think about a favorite band, and I know there's like 6 that rotate.
Yeah.
Kind of depends. And then you have to consider, like, I think about like longevity, like, is my favorite band a band that I like most of their work? Mm-hmm. Again, a band that I, is Guided by Voices my favorite band when I probably haven't heard 70% of their output. Yeah. That's crazy. But I love Guided by Voices.
Yeah.
It's David Bowie has like an unlistenable 15 years. It's 15 whole fucking years.
Yeah.
And unlistenable is an exaggeration, but he's got, he's got a lot of low cards in that deck. Can that count? Mm-hmm. It's just more a thing to think about than a thing to decide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think as you get older, you get more comfortable with things to think about as opposed to make decisions about.
Like, you'll hear me say, like, almost like what percentile something is in. Like, oh yeah, this is probably like in my top 5. This is my top 10. This is in my top 20. Like, if you ask me to define that, I couldn't. But like, this is alongside like 4 or 9 other things that I could say, like, oh yes, absolutely, this is definitional for me. It's a little bit like it took me a while to wrap my head around this in chemistry, but it's like, oh, we don't know where an electron is, but we have orbitals for that. Right. Yeah. Like, here's a shape of where this could be given the amount of energy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, as you get older and you experience more things and have a wider pool to pull from, you literally forget things that you love, which is real weird. Like, I remember doing the 5x5 game grid thing, and somebody posted in response to it. They're like, oh, like, I would have really thought Hitman would be on there. Yeah. And fuck yeah, it would. Sorry, Legend of Grimrock 2, get out of there. You've lost the number 25 spot, even though Hitman wouldn't be number 25. It would be like in the teens somewhere, but I don't know where. I just forgot about it at the time. I wasn't thinking about it. Like, your brain gets so full of fucking gunk.
It does.
You can only have so much stuff in your RAM in any given moment.
If I can, like, wish something into existence or encourage a next action on this, the next time you feel like you want to ask, like, oh, what's your favorite blank? Just replace that with, what blank are you into lately? Yeah.
Or like, what blank do you want right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's pretty natural.
Yes. Yeah.
Christian asks, hey folks, you have both expressed that there are certain tropes that you're always down for, like Gary's love of a dark science zoo, tropes that you despise, like Gary's passionate disdain for honor-bound warrior characters. My question is this: what factors do you think make or break a trope in your opinion? Film, video games, and the written word are all fair game. Love the network and all that you two do. Thank you.
How many times I have seen it, and within that sampling, how many times it was appreciably different or heightened.
I'm going to take that and rephrase part of it, but I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
there's a thing that comes along with this. I think when you talk about heightened, there's a general quality level to it too that gets kind of lost in this.
Yeah.
You know, so I think about like an honor bound warrior. If that's all the character is, like that is always going to suck because I've seen it a million times. You can have a character who's an honor bound warrior or whatever, but has good writing, like, and is just a good character and is in a good story. And then I don't mind it as much.
Yeah.
It's when the trope is like shorthand, it's not elevated in any way. It's just, this is the basic thing that it is.
Yeah.
You know, that can make it broken.
So like elevated probably is the wrong word. To give a little bit more to that, it's like, okay, I have seen this a number of times. Eventually I get a pretty good feeling on like what chance this has to surprise me by being good, right? It's just like, okay, suddenly this element is in play, right? And then, all right, well, that actually gives me a pretty good feeling about how this is going to resolve, right?
Yeah.
It's about like, do I trust that this to be used in a way that is not going to make me roll my eyes and say this again, right?
Yes.
Because something isn't a trope unless it's repeated, unless you've encountered it a bunch of times, right?
Yeah. Yep. And then, you know, to really, really love, like one of the tropes that I generally like I always like a monster zoo. To make it like a really, really good monster zoo that is all in detail and atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be kind of scared of it. You know, just a room full of tyrant tanks with the same thing in it can be good. Like a tyrant tank room. But if they're all different things, and what if the things that are there, like think about Alien Resurrection or what have you, with like the room full of half-formed Ripley clones.
Yeah.
It's kind of a monster zoo, but it's also really creepy. It's like these things that are making an attempt to be a person and haven't gotten there yet. You know, it's kind of a force multiplier of those two things together.
Yeah. Yeah. Related, we have another trope question here. Jordan and Maya write, what Lovecraftian or cosmic horror trope has run thin for you all? We know many of these tropes make us cackle with glee for each repeated use, but what has fully outworn its welcome?
That is a good question.
Yeah. I will say this, the object or thing that just by being around you makes you, quote, lose your mind. It's got crazy particles off of it. Like, he caught the
crazycules.
Yeah. He caught the cuckoo banana pants off of being in the same room with this thing.
Yeah.
Like
the tetrahedrotex.
Yeah. Like I really need it. Like it needs to not just make somebody generically crazy, right? But you know, there needs to be something in particular that breaks them in a particular way. And I, you know, see that especially in video games where like it's broken down into a stat, but also it you know pops up in fiction as well. Oh, this idol just by the look of it, et cetera, et cetera. I want specificity.
Yeah, it's kind of related to like the One Ring. Kind of thing. It's just like having that turns you into a maniac. You know, and it's a little bit silly. Yeah. I mean, that's a good answer. Like, I think it's run pretty thin.
Yeah.
Other than that, like most of the ones I can think of, I'm still pretty down with. You know, like they haven't gotten to me. Yet. Just generally, like a bunch of tentacles is not that cool to me anymore. Like a monster just being a pile of tentacles. Like I think we can go cooler than that.
Yeah.
You know, geometric shapes, you know, things like that. You can, you know, eyeballs where they should not be. You can do a lot of things that aren't just tentacles. Yeah. So I would say tentacles.
Yeah.
A little over tentacles. Yeah.
Let's get some network questions in.
Yeah. Would this count as this media/network question?
Maybe.
I assume. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it. Morgan says, hi, Gary and Kay. Love all the shows, but the one I always want more of is Unfilmable. Semi-relatedly, would you ever consider covering a serialized narrative podcast in the same in-depth way you discussed the Venture Brothers, Breaking Bad, or Souls games? I know recommendations are the devil, but I think you'd both get something out of the the Lovecraft investigations from BBC Radio 4. Thanks for keeping the light burning during these appalling times.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I mean, there's nothing saying absolutely not. It's just I haven't listened to that, and I don't know if it could, you know, withstand the structure, right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I've heard really good things about that. I haven't listened to it.
Yeah.
The only narrative podcast I've ever listened to is Wolverine: The Long Night. for Days of Future Cast, which is pretty fun. But we did one episode on the whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't think I could do a close up Wolverine: The Long Night podcast.
Probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, no reason why not. No plans, but no reason why not.
Yeah. Jonathan asks, do you plan to cover El Camino in a single episode? Will it have a response and behind the scenes episode after it? They're referring to our podcast Best Quality Vacuum, which has ended its Breaking Bad coverage. We're doing El Camino and then moving on to Better Call Saul, if people want to listen to that.
Yeah, good question. It was a moving target a little bit. We were going to do the response episode after Breaking Bad, but we decided to put El Camino in with it. So the next episode is on El Camino. That'll be one episode, a little bit longer, but those episodes are short.
Yeah.
Generally it'll be a little bit longer than a normal episode. And then the response for El Camino and Breaking Bad season 5 / the final season will be the response episode.
Yes.
No. Logain says, "Hey y'all, I've been enjoying your endless amounts of content while being a corporate slave. It helps me get through my day. You guys have so much love for the FromSoft games and roguelikes. I was wondering, have you played Night Rain yet? Any thoughts on the roguelike Dark Souls formula?" Many.
Yeah, we had about, I think, 40-ish minutes. Yeah, of them on the recent episode we did. Kind of talking about our first impressions and describing how we modded the game to make it a little bit more stomachable.
Yes. Some. Check it out. Also, in terms of roguelike and FromSoft, we also did an episode or maybe multiple episodes, I don't know, on the roguelike mode.
Yeah.
And randomizers, things like that. So plenty of stuff.
Yeah. We did a few different episodes about the Remnant game, right? The first one?
Yeah.
That's roguelike.
Yeah, we got to get to the World Stone.
Yeah.
Let's go to the World Stone. I want to see the World Stone.
Yeah. What's happening at the World Stone? There's
a button you can press to make a character say that. I've been thinking about it a lot because I've been playing Split Fiction and you keep talking about finding the glitch in the characters. It's very World Stone coded. I'd like to find the World Stone.
Chavo writes, what do you think would be the worst possible game to cover for WoF? Also, please explain how you would cover it.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question. We've definitely entered our anything can count era.
Yeah. So it's structurally it's not like a game like, oh, Tiddlywinks or whatever. I don't know. I would do an episode about tic-tac-toe. We could figure it out. No. That wouldn't be the bad thing. I think that to me, the worst, and don't want to speak for you. To me, the worst thing would be something where I'm like, oh, this makes nobody happy.
Yeah.
We hate it and then just pisses people off. And there are some sickos who'd really like it, but it's just nobody's happy.
Yeah.
My go-to for that is always Kingdom Hearts. I don't think that game is very fun mechanically. I don't think it's interesting narratively. I find it annoying narratively. It opens up to a lot of, actually later it's revealed that this, a nigh infinite amount of that. And that's a reason why people like it. People think that's good. And they rub their hands yeah. And to me, that's bad. And I just get annoyed and rub my hands.
Yeah.
Brush my hands off and go wash them because I just played Kingdom Hearts. That is probably, so I don't know how we do it. A lot of disclaimers.
Yeah.
And then a really annoying 6-month tail. Getting feedback around it.
I mean, forever. We'd be getting that forever, Gary. So the worst possible game to cover for WoF, that's probably it. It's hard for me to anything that would be like a format or structure fit just feels like a challenge. And then you get into okay, well, we can do an episode about it, but it would not be sufficient, right? A Dwarf Fortress WoF. Or any kind of WoF about an MMO, especially one that is still ongoing, right?
Yeah.
City of Heroes, I think that episode, A, worked because we set the expectations on it, but B, we really defined the scope and it is not really an ongoing concern outside of, the official fan server kind of developments that are going on, right?
In addition, I would say that the City of Heroes episode works as kind of a genre stand-in in a lot of ways. There have been advancements in the genre, but that a lot of things that we talked about with that apply to an era.
Yes.
Of that kind of thing. So it's not that we couldn't do that. I really like that episode. I'm glad we did it. I think it was really fun. I'm not chomping at the bit to do a contemporaneous.
Yeah, doing an FF14 one or whatever. Yeah.
Or I was thinking of something that like was also City of Heroes.
Oh,
like
yeah,
FF14 is too big to do, but City of Heroes, like I've said all the things I have to say. Like EverQuest would be difficult. I know you have nostalgia for it. I was reaching to try to find another contemporary.
Yeah, that was not EverQuest.
Yeah, I couldn't think of one.
No,
it's not my circus, but
yeah. I just and me dragging you into EverQuest land to talk about it would be a fucking nightmare. So
yeah. If you ever get the itch, we have guest episodes now.
Yeah.
So, last network question before we move on to lightning rounds. Marius says, "Hey Kay, hey Gary, two of my favorite WAFs are the episodes on The Last of Us and God of War. You're positive but measured and really funny takes got me to play both these games this last year, as well as the sequels, which I enjoyed both immensely. Both of these follow-ups are as bloated as they are ambitious, and absolutely adore both of them, and would love to hear your opinions. I'm currently lacking the money to sponsor an episode, so unfortunately, I have to point a gun to your head. Which game would you rather cover, The Last of Us Part 2 or God of War Ragnarok? Wish you all the best." Get that gun off her face.
Yeah, please. This is not necessary. Please.
Yeah, we don't know you. That's weird.
Yeah. Last of Us Part 2 in a walk.
Is the one you'd most want to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you didn't like that.
Oh, I like it. It's a good game. It's really it's
interesting.
It's a really fun game. It's just that the story at the very, very end takes one of the most baffling dog shit turns I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah. Last of Us Part 2 is a really good stealth action game. But
interesting. Yeah. I've only picked up your thoughts and most people's thoughts secondhand from that. Like I haven't played it. I was initially very skeptical that like that gameplay formula could last that long. Yeah. As a thing. So yeah, I got the impression you didn't like it, but I don't know where I got that from.
Yeah. No, it was probably me complaining about the ending.
That could be.
Like, and even like the story, like on the way to it is still really good, and there are good performances and stuff in it, right? Like you hate to hand it to Neil Druckmann or whatever, but like it was a huge team that made that. And like, there does not need to be, many of this kind of game, but for being what this is, like actually it is entertaining and the play holds up in really fun ways. Cool little scenarios and stuff.
The game having like the mixed reputation it does makes it really interesting thinking about how much an ending or like a narrative choice will poison an entire well. Because you're one of the first people I've heard say that, like who have said like, yeah, the ending is dog shit, but it's worth it in spite of it. Most people focus on the, whatever narrative crime it commits. That I don't know. I don't know it, and I read it once to have it spoiled for me and forgot it. So that's where I'm at. But it's rare to have somebody have that take. That makes me more curious. I'm curious about Ragnarok. I got no problems with Ragnarok. God of War was fun, fun enough. I'm just not in a hurry for it.
Yeah. What I read about like Ragnarok was the way that they expanded it also made everything like way more samey. Like it's a lot of repetition. Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't the least repetitious game in the first place.
Right.
So, but no current plans either. No reason why not. No current plans.
Yeah.
Kind of a stock answer.
Yep. Doing some lightning round here. Gabriel says, Gary, can you bitch about frame rates or graphics for me? That stuff is music to my ears as a fellow who cares, dude.
Yeah, it's unacceptable what they do to us in terms of frame rates.
They made the frame rates so woke.
Yeah, they're really woke. The frame rates have pronouns, and they ship a game, and you're like, this is 2025. I have a good rig. I expect to overclock to 120. I can tell a difference. I know science says you can't, but I can. And it's an insult. And we shouldn't stand for it. We should go to these people and demand their heads.
Devs are lazy and also greedy.
They're a double threat. And they make so much money. If somebody works in game dev, they make so much fucking money. They're some of the richest kings in Europe,
sitting on their thrones with all that job security, while regular schmoes are out here. Yeah,
and then they go home to their pretty wives and their beautiful children and their mansions. And they can't even give me like 5 extra frames. I love frames are food to me.
Yeah,
give me the frame. I eat frames. And graphics, don't get me started on graphics. If a puddle doesn't have a good reflection, like
might as well be PS3. Come on.
Exactly. Like, or maybe it'll be PS2.
And have to prevent.
Yeah. Daniel says, what was the first game that ever scared you? My first memory of video games at all was being 5 and being terrified of Bowser in Super Mario Brothers as I watched my older brother take on one of his castles.
Yeah. Like there were some monsters in the SNES Mystical Ninja game that weirded me out when I was like a real little kid. The cave dungeon in Final Fantasy VII, like the Cosmo Canyon one, where you walk up to that face and it goes like that face statue and it like twitches and makes like weird faces. That also wigged me out when I was like 10. But the game that like scared me so much that I had to like get it away from me was Silent Hill 1. The intro walking down the alley and the crucified body and the little kids coming up and stabbing you. That was too much for me at age like 11.
It's good and spooky.
Yeah.
For me, it'd either be Super Metroid or Out of This World, probably, being just scary and lonely and atmospheric.
Yeah.
Early games, I can't remember which one I played exactly first, but early games that taught me the games could be like scary and lonely.
Yeah. Alvy asks, Kay, now that you're trans, what's your favorite New Vegas ending? Trans people do not own New Vegas. That is a fun joke, but also, I don't know. I don't like playing into that. My favorite New Vegas ending is Yes Man. Most
Yes
lines
Man's the
up.
best ending.
Yeah, most lines up with my actual values on the matter.
It is. I appreciate you saying that because that's one of those jokes that I understand as a joke, but I don't like either because it's a thing for gender identity that ascribes quality. Because New Vegas is great.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't know, like. Lots of people have good taste in games, not all men, anything like that. But like, I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird joke.
Yeah. That's
a joke.
It's a fun little in-joke meme kind of thing or whatever. I just want to let people know like New Vegas is really good. Like you liking it does not like that should not actually factor into any of your question or real sense of your gender identity.
If you're cis, please play New Vegas.
Yeah, please.
I'm fucking begging you.
It will not turn you.
Yeah, it actually has so little to do with it. Is one of the most sexless, genderless games that there is. There's like one queer character with a relationship that is over.
Well, there's
like
also
a
Veronica.
Gigolo quest.
Yeah.
Well, that's who I meant. Like I meant Veronica. Like her relationship's long over.
Then Arcade too. Yeah, Arcade as well.
Arcade. He has no relationships.
Yep.
Arcade's a bachelor. There's 2 gay characters out of 100 characters.
Yeah.
Like the idea of it being it kind of like, you're not saying this, but it's one of those things with when people consider something woke or like gendery, it requires nothing.
Yeah.
To get people to make that accusation. Not people are saying it for this being good, but people saying it bad, saying it's bad because like it's not even a drop in the bucket. Like that is such a huge fucking game.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing about that stuff in it. It by volume, it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Of 150 hours of experience with the DLCs.
Yeah. So like it is a fun joke, Alvy, not chastising you for making it, not taking any object of fun away from any trans person because fuck, we need it so bad. But I just want to let people know where I'm at.
I'm taking it away and saying, have fun in ways that I like. That's it. So I'll take the hit on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a funny. The other thing, I think the reason why the origins of that joke, I've actually thought about this a lot. Sorry to go off on this, is that because that game was really big in internet communities.
Yes,
like on Something Awful and stuff. And I think that's just where people learned about gender. So there's just a correspondence between a place that a lot of people are telling people to play New Vegas and a place where people are learning about the possibilities of the spectrum of gender. And that's where that correlation came from.
Yeah. And like this happens with like a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, oh, your favorite character in Elden Ring is Ronnie. Like, what's your E-dose? And it's like, well, here's the thing.
There's so many like dude hetero sims for Ronnie.
Yeah.
Like, and then you run into stuff where like we got accused of that. At the time before,
of being Sims,
being Sims for Ronnie. But now I don't know. It's fucking. It's
it's like it is so facially goofy that I almost just want to like keep saying it just to make fun of the idea.
It for me it ends up like having a thing where it makes me feel like ascribing thing, I've said this a billion times, ascribing things to gender identity is silly, like especially virtues. or whatever. Of course, people like all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It just ends up feeling like I get it. And there's things you do to signal you're in an in-group.
Yeah.
Like I understand it sociologically, but it doesn't make any sense. No.
It's like, oh, you have an opinion on text editors? Do you take your progesterone orally or blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. And like, what? You run into a little bit of like that fire hydrant is giving bisexual energy.
Yeah.
It feels like I have a piece with that.
Yeah.
And just like it makes me wish that there was just like there should just be a game the size and scale of New Vegas that is explicitly trans.
Yeah.
Like I wish that nobody had to grasp. Like I yearn for a world in which the media there's just like text editors and things don't have to be secretly coded.
I've circled back around. I am so super into making these jokes just to make people uncomfortable now.
Yeah. Well, I'm people.
I know.
Okay? I'm people. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It's just one of those things where I never see anybody actually talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just a thing that just kind of presented. And when I've ever taken it seriously, because that's what I do, that's Gary's trick is like, I'll take things seriously and consider them like I get stopped up.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. Text editors. Like the thing you use to edit the .ini file. So you can cheat in Half-Life. How can that have a gender? It's a right click. It comes with Windows, the straightest operating system in the world.
Man.
Matt Bixler, hello, says, who's winning?
You are, buddy.
You are, Matt.
Yeah.
Always happy to see that name.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Like at least between the two of us, we both like read it in the same way. Hello.
Well, there's the exclamation point under Bixler as well, but I never read that one.
Yep.
Honestly, a little feedback, I'd get rid of that one. Yeah.
And then Exotic Minivan. This
also
is
a great name.
Yes, a very great name. Says, it's been mentioned on multiple occasions that 3 wishes are more than enough from a genie. What are your 3 wishes?
So we had to set ground rules for that, though.
Do we? This is not. This quickly gets out of lightning round scenario.
It does, but if we just say, like, are we going to have? Is it a jerk genie? Do we have to spend all day like, phrasing things for second edition D&D? Let's say no.
Right. Yeah. So
so it can stay in lightning round. Like, benevolent genie.
Yeah. No monkey's paw factor.
Yes.
Do we want to use wishes, say like, okay, you have all of this power at your hands, no drawbacks, no downsides. Well, obviously you want to use your wishes to solve world hunger, to solve war, to solve blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Let's do selfish only.
Selfish only? Okay.
Yeah. And unless you can figure out a way to do it.
Right.
Like you can figure out a way around it. So like one of the things I always think about is that if I had wishes, like I could stop and restart time. Whatever, like Quicksilver, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I do a lot of addition by subtraction in terms of improving the world in that situation.
Wait, let me check with our lawyer. Is that good? Okay, you're good. Yeah. Thumbs up.
I mean, Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So that would make the world better. But the wish would just also would be sick.
Yeah.
I'd also sneak into movies and stuff. Steal from grocery stores.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I will say the body that I want. I will say enough resources that me and the people I care about most never have to worry about going without. And I don't have a third one yet.
I would use my time powers to get that second one. I don't think I could use them for that first one.
Right.
But I am going to make my third wish that you don't get that body. That's a little will energy sticking in. Sorry, I wouldn't actually do that. Jerk genie. What about jerk wisher?
Yeah.
I obviously wouldn't do that.
I know.
I think I could just do a lot with one.
Yeah. Oh, how about this?
The power for time crimes.
Yeah. So I don't know about time crimes. That feels like, obviously, like maybe that'll be my third one. But to differentiate it, I will say only sleep when I want to.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would like to be able to sleep and shit perfectly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nothing but net each time. Yeah.
Nothing but net. Like I lay down, close my eyes, wake up 8 hours later, perfectly rested, sit down, close my eyes, wake up 8 hours later, perfectly clear, perfectly empty.
Yep.
Just why not do them at the same time? Like I was getting my colonoscopy, I kept thinking about like, why don't they invent a toilet but for sleep? I just need to find the right genie.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to game responses.
Let's. Starting here, talking about The Last Door Season 2, we've got one here from our buddy Doug saying, I really enjoyed The Last Door Season 2, though I do agree that it was not quite as solid gameplay-wise as Season 1. Still, I think tonally it was exceptional, and I found it astounding that a game with this lo-fi presentation could still evoke horror so well. I grew up with point-and-click adventures, but their primary mode was to be joke delivery systems. This is absolutely necessary, just as stealth games need to make being caught fun. Point-and-clicks need to make wrong guesses fun as well. I can't think of many games that would or could trade the usual Douglas Adams-style comedy for terror. I have a hunch I'll be in a mood for something in this mold in October. Any suggestions?
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Yeah, there's lots. The Wadget Eye games that move towards more into horror.
Yeah.
I've heard really excellent things about the excavation of Hobbs Barrow.
Yep.
From Will. The old Lovecraft adventure games, if you have a tolerance for point-and-click adventure games, are playable and cool.
Yeah.
The Prisoner of Ice and the other one, which
Shadow of the Comet.
escapes me.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Comet. Both of those are cool. They're neat.
The Cat Lady.
The Cat Lady, yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite of the like point and click esque adventure games that are horror themed. Yeah,
it's weird that kind of comedy or horror works.
Yeah.
You know, when you get kind of in between those two, or if you kind of move off from that, it's easy to get a little bored. You know, like The Longest Journey is neat, but like it is neither funny nor scary. It's just kind of an interesting story told over a very long time, sort of awkwardly.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Moving on to responses to Command & Conquer 2, Red Alert 2, Yuri's Revenge. Naveen says, love the Yuri's Revenge episode. Red Alert 2 is one of my favorite games ever, and not only for its top-notch campiness. Underneath is a Swiss watch of an RTS that I lost many hours to in skirmish mode. Yuri's Revenge revamped the formula so thoroughly that it may as well have been its own game. But as a package with Red Alert 2, it is the paragon of the genre. Appreciate that, Naveen. I'm bad at that game. I just kind of play like a dipshit, as I mentioned in the episode. So there's definitely deeper intricacies that I'm not equipped to speak to.
Yeah.
And that stuff, since I've not spent a lot of time skirmishing or doing multiplayer with that. So it is good to know.
How'd that episode go? I don't think we talked about it.
I think it went well. I was a little nervous about it, because we did a little zoomed out. I was kind of taking the, made the hypothesis that like people don't actually want to hear a play-by-play of the missions of an RTS game. So we didn't really do that.
Yep.
We kind of zoomed it out, but the conversation really went really well. And Braden, obviously, a delight. Love that man. I love the idea of having him on the network.
Yeah. Can't mess with
whenever
him.
he wants to. Yeah. Cannot mess with Braden.
No.
It went really well.
Yeah. Cool. And videogames.afghanistan says, big tip, build tanks.
That is true.
Yeah.
Tanks are very good in that game.
Seems like the like any RTS where tanks are available, they are worth building.
Shake it, baby. Moving on to Lost Kingdoms, Andrew says, this is one of those games that a friend and I rented from Blockbuster for a sleepover, and even though I don't think we got much further than The Necromancer, it was one of those, remember that? Games that stuck in my mind. I think it's because of the really creative monster designs and the way that each one had an identity as both an enemy and a card. Sure, that meant that some of the coolest bosses ended up having a, to us, useless effect like boost water damage or whatever, but the fact that each was so different just made catching them all more enticing. I'm actually surprised we haven't gotten an indie spiritual successor, Hidden Empires or whatever, yet, because it's always nice, but it's always nice to remember the heydays of super creative B games.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the episode. Like somebody should take this and run with it.
Yeah.
100%, because it's a super cool idea.
Yeah. There's some good bones there, and the concept, and especially with like I don't know just how much CCGs have kind of grown over the intervening years. Yeah, there's a lot of knowledge I think that people could apply to that and make it real cool. Yeah. Ben writes, I was really surprised and happy to hear that you two are going to cover Lost Kingdoms. I don't hold out much hope for it clicking with y'all due to all the JRPG vestigial cruft, random battles, inelegant balancing, and general anime-esque tone problems. Even though those tropes hold it back a bit, I think this game shines as one of those weird N64/GameCube era Nintendo RPGs that seemed to be trying to break the mold when it came to the weakest parts of console JRPGs, the battle system. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on where this game fits alongside other Nintendo RPGs that tried to mess with the core activity without changing the essential JRPG formula, like Quest 64, Baten Kaitos, or, don't laugh, Mega Man X Command Mission. Also, to this day, my sibling and I can't mention bees without making the weird bee noise that the bee enemies make at the start of their fights. And there is a very nice parenthetical here congratulating me on my transness. So thank you.
Yeah. I this clicked with me maybe more than you thought it was going to. Like, I liked this game. It had a lot of problems, but like I liked Lost Kingdoms quite a bit, actually. I like it more than Baten Kaitos, which I haven't played since it came out, since it was on GameCube. But I remember thinking it was fine. Played it because it was any port in a storm for an RPG, but not being that into it.
Yeah. I you know what? I didn't play Mega Man X Command Mission. I didn't look into it enough to see how it changes basic battles. Everything just kind of looked Final Fantasy X-ish in that.
Yeah. I don't know that game, really.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. So yeah, I don't know where this fits in on the kind of like sort of a JRPG.
Yeah.
Most of my like sort of a JRPG games I played have been strategy RPGs.
Yes.
That sometimes have the same rhythm, of a story, but they replace the random battles with something different.
Yeah. Or like they verge into like roguelike kind of stuff, like Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure where it fits in with that. I think if this were done, if this felt like a complete game, it would be really up there.
Yeah.
Like I like a lot about this. It just felt unfinished.
Yeah. I think when a lot of people have fond memories of like the N64, GameCube, Dreamcast era, like they are definitely like latching on to these like partially successful attempts at making something weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was a time, and this is not an original observation. People have said this a billion times, but it's true. It was just a time where that was more common. These kind of experiments, and those experiments are valuable, and it is something kind of missing.
Yes.
Now, they're cool, even if they don't end up making something that works.
Yeah.
Your brain kind of fills in what would have worked.
Yeah. Missing in big budget games coming out of studios whose names you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Indie has never been healthier.
Yep.
And somebody will argue with that, but to me, like there's no shortage of games. Like 1,000 games come out all the time that seem kind of interesting to me. They're just not, huge.
Yeah.
So, thanks everybody.
Thank you
for writing in. We appreciate you. If you have things to say about next month's games, you can write in at duckfeed.tv/contact. And those games are Skin Deep, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, and the Talos Principle.
I like Skin Deep was a little bit of a gamble. Play that game. It's real neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's real neat. It's interesting playing something that I think is aimed to try to like get me. And I like it a lot. It's teaching me a lot about like stuff I like about MSims.
Yes.
And then other things that I additional context and stuff I want from Sims. It's great. It's really fun.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Yeah.
But it's not quite the sniper bullet directly into my heart. That it could have been.
Yeah.
Like,
I only bring that up by way of saying that July seems like it's going to be a hell of a month.
Yeah, July's going to be great.
Yeah.
August looks great.
Yeah.
Future's looking bright.
The future is looking very bright. August, we're talking about Metroid Zero Mission. Our next guest episode is going to be Gary and Will talking about Split Fiction.
Yeah. Excited about that. That will be zoomed out similar to the Command and Conquer episode. And it will not just be an hour and a half of complaining about the writing.
Cool.
It'll probably be on an hour of that, and then maybe a half hour talking about the basics of the developer. If that's not true. There's things that are cool about that game that are worth talking about, but I've been looking for an excuse to get Smartwill on the network. That's his words, not mine. Not saying that as an insult. That's how he describes himself when he like guests on Retronauts, or he like talks about, when he did the Gwent stuff, like getting Smartwill on. Because Will, in addition to being my adversary on everything to Guppy, is actually a really good games critic.
Yeah. And like Split Fiction, if it's anything, I've played that developer, all of that developer's previous games. They have good gameplay ideas. It's just everything else that tends to be
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, I know,
how
right?
They shoot themselves in the foot with that. Like it's gobsmacking.
Yeah.
I've been like fecund with wine to talk about it. I have been pregnant with wine to talk about Split Fiction.
Yeah.
And then the premium episode for that month is a Gary pick, is Mercenaries, World of Destruction for the PS2, a game I have wanted to do for fucking ever.
Yeah.
That has been on my like WAF wish list, weirdly enough, for the entirety of the show. And I just never like made it happen.
Yeah.
We scratched a lot of that itch when we did Crackdown.
We did.
It's kind of similar to Crackdown.
Yeah. This is not Mercenaries 2, so we will not get to talk about the song that was written for Mercenaries 2. Oh no, we did. Yeah.
That is no good. This is the first one. If you've never played it, it is a really cool PS2 game. It is less generic military than it looks. You do a lot of generic military stuff, but the concept is you have a group of targets you have to take down, and you're basically given free reign to do it how you like.
Yes.
You get money, you like start this little self-sustaining economy of taking guys down, and you can do things like, here's a compound. Do I call in an airstrike? Do I circle around the back? Do I drive a car full of explosives up to it?
Yeah.
Shit like that. Like the kind of thing people talk about Far Cry 2 doing, but I wasn't really my experience playing Far Cry 2.
Yeah.
Not saying we'll never do that at some point, but like it's kind of my version of that.
Yeah. And wait, this will be the only pandemic game that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Weird.
So that's August. If you have thoughts about those games, write in by August 15th, duckfeed.tv/contact. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please write in multiple responses and keep your responses specific and brief.
Yes. And if you have thoughts about July's games, it's July the 15th as well. Always the 15th.
Indeed. What else can they do?
If you want to submit questions for like the opening parts of these dispatch episodes, sometimes it's unclear. We put out calls for those responses on the Patreon. Sometimes some of those end up in the email and I lose them.
Yes.
So just want to let you know that is the way that you do it.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you are any kind of marginalized person and you have a project or a product you'd like us to shout out, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include all relevant information. We'd be happy to do it.
Yeah. Leave ratings or reviews whenever/wherever you can, and join us in thanking our producer, Gwen. Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, big thanks to Gwen. Yeah. And we'll be back next week with Skin Deep, which is a lot of fun. I didn't want to try to
No.
that. It's, as I'm getting further into it, it really feels like it is aimed at me in a weird way. And I get to be like, haha, you just hit me in the fucking lung, not in the heart. Like, sucker. I'll recover from this after a long time. You can kill me.
Oh, I'll only be disabled for life after this.
Yeah. Oh man, I lost a leg, but not my life. Get fucked. It puts me in the position of having to admit that like I really like a Blendo game. And I've never liked that guy's games before.
Right. It's your weird idle thumbs grudge.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I played them. It's the weird quadrilateral cowboy isn't fun grudge.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a good game. It's my grudge against them not being fun, but this one's actually fun.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Looking forward to talking about it.
All right. See you next week.
Next week, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.